Welcome to the Jamie Jones Ministries YouTube channel. I'm just sitting here today enjoying a nice cup of coffee. Good stuff. Like many of you, you probably also enjoy a good cup of coffee. I have the opportunity sometimes to travel to the nation of Honduras. We have churches there that we're involved in, that we do ministry in. And when we're there, we get to see the production of coffee. From the time that they plant the seed in the ground all the way to the point of sort of cultivating that, all the way to the harvest, and then when they're taking the coffee beans, they're getting them ready for production. Man, there's a lot that goes into it. From the time it goes from a little seed into the ground to the point where you get that bag in your hand in your house or however you do that and you pour it into a cup of coffee, it's easy to forget how much work went into that. There's a lot of times in life that we look at people and we see the end product, we see the end result, and we see people that are successful. We see people maybe even in our own industry or whatever it is that you're doing, you see people at the top of the game and you look at them and say, man, I wish I had what they had, or I wish I could do what they could do. And sometimes if you're not careful, you'll frustrate yourself. And sort of like this little cup of coffee, you'll forget that there's a whole lot that went into that person getting to where they're at. It didn't just happen overnight. I want to give you 3 action points today that I believe can help you. They're very, very simple little things, but they're 3 little action points that I believe can sort of help you and motivate you today to go from the place of looking at others or looking at goals in your life and wanting to achieve them, and then getting to the place of actually achieving them. There's sort of a gap there, and I want to talk to you just quickly 3 action points of how to get there. Number 1, I want you to always remind yourself of 2 words, okay? Those 2 words are this: don't rush. Anything that is worth doing well. Anything that is valuable normally takes a long time. You look at a building that's being built. Some of the big buildings that are built, skyscrapers or beautiful buildings in your city, you look at those, man, those things, somebody doesn't just make a decision, hey, let's build a building, and the next day there it is. No, there are months, sometimes even years of drawings and plans and having to go through the city ordinances or the county ordinances to be able to get this thing okayed for approval to finally get to the place of building. And then of course the actual construction and all of the permitting, everything that goes with that, it takes a lot of time. So anything that is being built in your life takes time for that to develop. So number 1, don't rush. Number 2, I want to remind you of this: stay focused. It's easy when you get discouraged for whatever reason, especially if things aren't happening as quick as you'd like. I know for me, for instance, I know in my life, man, I'm a person that is not very patient a lot of times. I like to do things, I like to do it now. I'm sort of impatient. And so when things aren't happening as fast as I think they should, sometimes I can begin to lose focus, and I always have to remind myself, hang on a minute, the value of the finished product is greater than the frustration that it takes to get there. So number 2, stay focused, okay? Your 3rd action point today is this: don't give up. Listen, if it's worth starting, it's worth finishing. If it's worth beginning the project, it's worth seeing it all the way to the end. You've got to remind yourself. Sometimes you get other people that'll support you and help you in that. That's great. Sometimes you've got to just see it through all by yourself. So those 3 things: remind yourself, don't rush. Number 2, stay focused. Number 3, don't give up. You know what? You can see a little bit more about product. I've got a book out and some other things on my website, jamiejonesministries.com. I've dropped a link in the comments. You can look there. And I just want to remind you today, sort of like this little cup of coffee that's sitting right here today, good things take time. But man, when you get to the end, it's actually worth it. I want to just remind you today, the sky is never the limit in your life. You can go higher, you can go greater. I believe in you today, and I know that God believes in you as well.